Hey guys, what's happening? You are listening to or watching In the Meantime with Timmy Riggs, where I'm talking about how in the meantime of life, we can still live fulfilling, joyful, and peaceful lives, right? We can become more healthy, more whole, and our lives can scratch the surface of extravagant, even in the midst of wherever we're at, on our way to wherever we're going, whatever our goal is. It's one day at a time that we get to live. So that's where we get to find joy, and that's where we get to enjoy the presence of others and our activities and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you get it. So thanks for listening today. I'm thinking about dreaming. Okay, I'm thinking about dreaming today for a couple reasons. I'm sitting here, I'm watching the snow fall outside the window. I was just talking to a friend. I hate the cold, but I love the snow. The snow feels like a reward for having to sit through the cold. And so that is my perspective on it. It's what allows me to have some joy in the midst of maybe, hell on earth. Because for me, that is cold weather, right? I grew up in Florida, love the beach. So I'm sitting here watching all that, and I'm dreaming about days gone by. Days where I have sat in the 98-degree sun, felt the sand on my toes as I begin to make the trek from my beach chair into the ocean. It's probably a perfect 88 degrees, and I'm just in there chilling, letting the vitamin D be absorbed in my skin, on my eyes. And so, I'm looking up plane tickets to see how hard it would be to get home, to get to Florida, see if I could enjoy myself. But it's just a dream. I'm not going to do it. But I did want to talk about chasing dreams and staying grounded while doing it, right? So that's something I've been talking with a couple friends about, just dreaming in general. What does it feel like for you to dream, right? Some people aren't dreamers at all, but I am. I am a big-time dreamer. I thought that everybody was a dreamer, and it's not until maybe the last 5 years where friends have been like, hey, can you help me dream? Which I love to do. And I want to, not in this episode, but episodes later, I want to talk about maybe some steps towards dreaming. But today, I want us to, because it's snowing outside, I'm dreaming about the beach. So how do I find joy in the midst of today and not get caught up in my dream and get to a place where I'm discontent, right? So like I said, I'm a huge dreamer, have been my whole life. I want to do big, impactful, meaningful things with my life. And I hope you do too. I want to help people transform the way that they see life in general so that they can lead fulfilling, joyful, peaceful lives in the meantime. That is literally what I feel like I'm called to do, what steps I'm taking right now to kind of make that my career, right? And so that's what I'm all about. My big dream, here's my big dream, okay? This show you how big it is. I dream of having a place called Riggs Oasis. The name can change, but right now, that's just what it's called because I don't know what else to call it, right? It's my dream, okay? So Riggs Oasis would be a retreat center focused on a lot of different things, right? In my mind, it's kind of like the Chick-fil-A of business. So this would be a retreat center that has maybe hundreds of different villas. I would love all the villas to have unique and different kinds of designs to them. Like maybe you got 25 that are going to have like a rustic cabin feel. Maybe you have 25 that are going to have like a city feel. 25 they're going to have some of that farmhouse feel. And the list goes on and on, right? But I also would love if it kind of was like a hotel resort too, where you could just get a room. And in this retreat center, I would love to have a bunch of sports complexes, football fields, soccer fields, baseball fields. But I'd also love to have kind of like an arena where conferences can go on, where you can have, maybe some church services or some concerts or just conferences in general about leadership or whatever it might be, right? That's kind of a big part of my dream. I'd love for it to kind of be like Ritz-Carlton style, really excellent in everything that it does, but also really inclusive. Connected to it, I would love for there to be maybe some sponsorships and some partnerships where maybe once a year there's a week where it is like, hey, we're going to bring in as many foster families as possible. Kids are all going to stay in the hotel area, and it's going to be like a summer camp for them while the parents stay in the villas. And there's going to be a lot of downtime just to enjoy maybe the water park that's there. I told you it's a huge dream, billion-dollar dream. Okay. But then there's also a lot of training that they get while they're there, some courses just on how to continue to do the work of being good foster parents. I don't know. I haven't fleshed that all out yet. I'm not quite to that stage. But I would love for it to be something that's very healthy and holistic, right? Like I have this idea of you come with your family and you set up like an itinerary before you come. And the goal would be that you come maybe every year for a week and you learn different skills, maybe how to learn how to cook healthy whole meals. And so you got a chef that comes to your villa, teaches you how to do that, right? Would love for it to be a bit of a disconnect as well. Like maybe you leave your phone in a box or whatever technology is at the time, your contact lenses that have all the same stuff that our phones have. Maybe you put those in a box and you try to disconnect, but there's still a bunch of luxurious comforts there, right? So that's my dream, and I'd love to see how I get there one day. Obviously, that is a massive dream. That's a big level, top shelf type dream. So my goal is, in the meantime, while I have this big dream, how do I stay grounded? Because I mean, right now, I'm nowhere near accomplishing that dream. I don't even have really anything that's kind of scratching the surface even close to that dream. And so what happens is whatever your dream might be, maybe it's just being physically fit and healthy. Maybe it's having a better marriage. Maybe it is starting a business. Maybe it's just being closer to God and having a stronger spiritual connection. Whatever your dream is, sometimes, at least this has been my experience, and this is what I want to speak into right now, we can get real caught up in our dream, real caught up in the future that we design, then maybe we'll find ourselves in the present living a little discontented, living a little bit like, man, my dream's so good that my reality is terrible. And then what happens is we kind of get in this dream paralysis where we just feel really stuck, right? Where all we can do is fantasize about, man, someday, one day, when, whatever. But then our real life in the moment, we just feel a little bit depressed. We just feel a little stressed, a little anxious because it's like, man, I don't even know how to get there. Like, I don't know how to get to my dream. I don't know what steps to take. And I can feel a little bit like I'm so far away from that future. So I might as well just accept that my life is supposed to be boring and maybe that I don't accomplish that kind of dream. And then we just find ourselves maybe just looking in the mirror. I mean, if I'm getting real detailed here, and just thinking like, man, like, what am I doing? Like, this stinks, like, and find ourselves in the cog of the machine on days going by where we just feel like, I guess this is it. Like, I guess I should just succumb to my reality, right? So there's two things that I think we can do, two perspective shifts that I think can really help us, and I'm finding that they help me while I'm going towards my dream, okay? People who are really close to me, they know about Riggs Oasis. I've told them about it, right? So whether they think it's a crazy idea or not, or they're bought in, doesn't really matter. They know that's what, like, my big goal is, and I don't care if it happens way later in life, but that's what I'm working towards. That's what each little step I'm taking is trying to get me towards. So two perspective shifts. Number one, and this might sound a little bit cheesy, but I think if we don't lean into it, well, I mean, we're just going to find ourselves in the dream paralysis. And it's this: become a person with an attitude of gratitude. Become a person with an attitude of gratitude. If in the meantime, on your way to chasing your dream, if you can put inside you this kind of core belief, or maybe it's like you wear like a jacket of gratitude, then I think that you're able to find that fulfillment, that peace and joy each day as you go, right? Because there's so much in life to be grateful for. When my best friends, they live right next door. My wife and I hang out with them all the time, and we'll just be sitting around in the living room, and one of us will just say like, man, we're blessed. Like, this is amazing. Like, does life get any better, right? But all four of us, we have things we're going after. We have dreams. We have goals. We have ways that we're trying to improve and progress our life. Yet, we're able to still sit back and be like, man, this moment right here, playing Settlers of Catan and drinking some LaCroix are making us feel like we just live one of the best lives out there, right? And so we put ourselves in this position where we're just really grateful. We're really thankful. And so what in your life can you maybe begin to find, whether it's on a micro or macro level? You want to take it micro? I think the fact that you're listening to this, that you have ears, that you're able to hear, like, man, be thankful for that, right? Like, you're able to not listen to just this, but you're able to listen to music and other speakers and other things that bring joy to your life, right? The fact that you woke up, that you got breath in your lungs and it's pumping. You don't even know how. You don't got to think about breathing. You just do it, right? You got blood flowing through thousands of miles of veins in your body. I don't know how it's done. It just is, right? I don't know the science. I just sit back and let my body do the work. I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful that God has designed us in a way that we can just keep ticking without us having to do all the work of trying to figure out how to make it happen. On the macro level, maybe it's friendships, maybe it's business opportunities, maybe it's a strong church community that you're involved in. Like, just take a step back and look at your life and just kind of imagine you're looking at this big board and you're just throwing up all the things you can imagine that you're grateful for. And pretty soon you're going to be like, wow, man, I got a pretty sweet life, right? So that's perspective shift number one. If we start to look at the stuff we are already kind of have, the things we already have in our possession. I don't just mean things in general, but it could be emotions, it could be attitudes, it could be friendships, right? Like, there's plenty for us to be thankful for. I think in the United States, if you live in the United States, like, I think about this all the time. The fact that food just keeps getting shipped around, right? Sometimes it's maybe not always the healthiest, but nonetheless, like, I don't have to struggle or really pray about being able to find food, and that's not necessarily everybody's lot in life. Like, we get to just be like, yeah, the grocery store is probably going to have it. You saw what happened during 2020, moments where maybe the grocery store didn't have things, right? Didn't have diapers, didn't have toilet paper, didn't have meats, right? Like, we start kind of panicking, realizing, wow, what a comfort it is. I'm so thankful that for the most part, my life is pretty much kind of like not having to have too much stress about my regular needs, okay? So that's number one. Become a person with an attitude of gratitude. Number two, this one's a little obvious. It's simple, it's basic, but I think it's really important when it comes to, if we're chasing a big dream, when it comes to actually being able to take steps, this has to be done, okay? This has to be done. And so if you're living from a place of gratitude, the next step is to do this. And number two is reverse engineer your dream, okay? If you see this big dream, start to work backwards and think to yourself, okay, what would be the steps to get there? Here's the beautiful part. If you start taking these steps, your dream might shift. It might change. It might evolve. But now you've at least taken steps in that direction, and there's something beautiful that's going to come from it. There's some type of opportunity or relationship or something that you're going to gain. And so the positive is none of this work is in vain, right? If you got a big dream, you reverse it all the way down to the smallest thing you can do each day, you're going to find some type of growth, some type of meaning in those tasks that you can do. So for Riggs Oasis, man, there's a lot of reverse engineering I got to do, right? First of all, I've got to be involved in the real estate space. I've got to figure out a way to be able to, get more property, to get more areas to develop, right? So secondly, I've got to figure out how to get kind of in the resort space. Got to figure that out. Both of those things, I think, probably come best through relationships, all right? I think that all of it, right, especially if I'm trying to find partnerships. Like, I'm thinking about, like, if I had this resort right now, I'm going to want someone like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to be talking about Riggs Oasis. Like, that's going to kind of help, and maybe some of his companies can partner with it and things like that. Maybe Zoa, his energy drink, can be the drink of the resort, right? So I got to think, okay, in terms of getting there, I'm not going to be able to get there without having really strong intentional, genuine relationships. So that's a big piece, right? So how can I start today? Oh man, well, I got plenty of friends and relationships now. So I've just got to be willing to show them, hey, I'm someone that lives from grace and produces with excellence, which I talked about in my last podcast, right? And if I do that each day, then I'm going to be someone that they trust, someone that they can lean into, someone that when they're talking to somebody else who knows real estate, they can say, hey, have you met my friend Timmy? He's interested in that space, right? So little things like that along the way are really important because now I'm thinking, okay, all of this is going to be relationship based. But also on the other side is, okay, I want the retreat to be focused big time on, personal growth, personal development, living a healthy whole life. So what do I do right now in the meantime? Bring it all the way back down, right? Well, I've been a pastor for nearly a decade. I'm very kind of involved in the mindset space in the sense that I'm trying to learn more. How can I direct my thoughts? Scripture says, hey, take every thought captive. Think about things that are lovely, pure, genuine, excellent, praiseworthy, right? So I want to start thinking, how can I find tools and how can I find practices that help me do that help me direct my thoughts in the way that I want to go, right? So once I start doing that, then I want to start creating as well. I want to just on my blog, on my podcast, on my socials, like I'm putting out information that says, hey, here's how we should start thinking, here's who we should be. So if Riggs Oasis is about helping you transform your mind the way you think, well, right now I can open up my phone and do a post about it, and people are realizing, oh, that's the space Timmy wants to be in. What might that lead to? Well, that might lead to a relationship. And along the way, you start kind of building these little blocks of helping your dream come to pass, right? And then there's so many other things, right? Like obviously, I need to learn how to be a good steward of my finances. That's something my wife and I have been, focused on for a long time. We're not nearly as detailed as some people. Wish we were a little better sometimes. But overall, we have a good sense of, hey, what money is coming in? How are we spending it? Where are we saving? Where are we investing, right? And so I've got to continue to get better there. Maybe reading some books, listening to some podcasts. Those are all little steps I can do in a one-day period that are helping me take steps towards living out my dream. But also, it's keeping me grounded because it's giving me purpose in the day that is here, right? You just get one day at a time. So here's my quick example of where I saw this happen in my life, and you can probably think of things like this in your life. When I was in college, I loved the idea of being a public speaker. Problem was, my first ever speech I gave, I literally bombed. I had a 30-second speech that I had to give about Legos, okay, in my speech class. I got up there. I was so nervous. I was shaking. And I literally walked away thinking, oh, man, I don't think I'm supposed to be a public speaker. Well, as my time in college went on, I got a few more opportunities. Very tiny, small, little moments where I got to get up in front of people and speak about something, whether it was an event or an action step or something, right? Then I got a few opportunities to start preaching within my college and at different churches. Every time I was scared to death, I was nervous, I was shaking, but I started realizing, okay, if I step into this each time, I have a little bit more confidence. I feel a little bit better. I came back to Oklahoma City, got hitched up with a pretty good sized church, right? And I remember being there thinking, man, I'd love for God to kind of cultivate in me the ability to preach. And to preach here. I'd love to be able to help people in that way. And so I started figuring out what are ways I can start moving in that direction. Well, I had my college group that I preached out on Wednesday nights, and I prepared like crazy for every single talk. Anytime I got to speak for the youth group, I prepared. Anytime someone said, hey, can you speak at this event? There's 10 people. And usually those kind of things, you're not getting paid or anything. But I said, yes, yeah, I want to do that. And then at our church, we had to do announcements. I literally raised my hand and I said, I'll do announcements every week if you want me to, right? I started doing that. First time I did announcements, there's like 800 people in there. I was so nervous. My palms were literally sweating so bad. My knees were shaking. I got up there, I did it. And then I started doing announcements all the time. And what it did was started building confidence in me that, hey, I can do this. I can get in front of people. I can talk, right? In the background, I start working better on like my content, on my skills, what I'm talking about, what I believe in, right? And then figuring out how to smash it together. So then when the opportunity came, I was 26 years old. And I was asked, hey, would you be willing to preach 3 times this summer at our church? And I said, absolutely. No doubt I was nervous, but I put a ton of preparation in. And I leaned on kind of the courage that I had from my past. And I leaned on my experience. And so I was able to see that then I've basically have gotten to this point where, hey, now I'm a public speaker. I go to events, I go to retreats, I speak at conferences. I still do a lot of the little things because I want to remind myself, hey, keep getting the reps, keep getting the skill, keep learning how to read an audience, keep learning how to engage with them. A lot of times we think that speaking from stage is just about having a monologue, but it's a dialogue. And maybe they're not speaking back to you, but their expressions and their engagements, like that's how you know how to respond to them. And so big or small, like I'm going to say yes to all those moments, right? And for me, it was always about, hey, I don't want to just preach or speak data and information. I want to help them feel something. And so I wanted to work in that direction. So I say all of that to say, I did it. I have proof for myself that says, hey, you stuck to a plan. You bought into what you believed. You worked really hard to get better at your skills and your abilities, right? Like I want to get better at this. I want to get better at podcasting and figuring out how I can be more enjoyable to listen to, more helpful, and see where it goes, where it takes me. And part of that is still a part of making Riggs Oasis come to be, right? So those are my 2 tips. That's your midweek motivator, I guess. And I'll be honest, I thought that was going to be a lot shorter, but maybe it can help you. If you're a big dreamer, then remember, it's really important that we can chase that dream, but we got to stay grounded in the meantime. And there's 2 tips that I think help us how to do that. Number 1, it's to just have an attitude of gratitude. Make your posture, make your persona all about, man, I'm just so grateful for today. And secondly, reverse engineer. Figure out the small steps of success that you can make and take each day, because those are the things that are going to start to transform our lives. If you are not a dreamer and you're saying, I would like to dream more, then stay tuned. And in one of the episodes coming up, I'm going to talk about that. Talk about, hey, here's some steps that you can take to start dreaming. I think we're all called to dream. I think that we're all here to help break in the kingdom of God, to make the world a better place. And that takes vision. That takes dreaming. And it can be really small. Maybe it's all relative, right? So it might not be the same dream that I have, but for you, it's a big dream. And so I want to talk about that and figure out ways to help you with that. So in the meantime, man, God is rooting for you, and so am I. If this was helpful in any way, I would love if you're willing to review it, rate it, share it with a friend. That's how all this stuff grows. It's how it's going to let me know that, hey, what I'm doing is working and it's meaningful and it's blessing people. And so if you're willing to do that, I would much appreciate it. And if I see it, then I'm going to reach out to you, because I love staying connected with people who I know are connected to me. And obviously, you can follow me on all my different socials, Facebook, Instagram. What else is out there? TikTok, LinkedIn. I'm trying. It's tough, but I'm trying. And you can go to my website, timmyriggs.com. If you are looking to maybe book me for a retreat or an event, that's kind of what I'm doing this weekend, or this year, rather. And I'm starting to get my schedule, starting to get some dates down on the schedule. So if you're looking for that, you can go to my website, timmyriggs.com, and there's a book me spot. I know this is all self-plugging stuff, and I know it's a little awkward, but it's really not. For you, you're probably like, yeah, that's what he's doing. For me, I'm trying to build the muscle of being comfortable and confident talking about it, right? Because it's kind of a new space. But anyway, hey, like I said, in the meantime, hope you're doing well. Hope you find fulfillment, peace, and joy. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.